A very warm welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. I'm Shanakshi Chakravarti. The big story. The situation in Assam is grim. More than 6 lakh people spread over 27 districts of Assam have been hit by the floods triggered by pre-monsoon rains in the state. 9 people have died. More than 48,000 people have been shifted to over 200 relief camps. At least 1,500 villages along the Brahmaputra, one of the world's largest rivers, are flooded after water levels rose in the past 3 days. NDTV's Ratnadeep Chaudhary joined a rescue mission in Assam's Hojai and has this ground report for us.
Rescuers of the State Disaster Response Force wading through neck-deep water, carrying 2 children to safety. Since Tuesday, hundreds of stranded people have been rescued from Hojai, one of the worst flood-hit districts of Assam. We are now accompanying a team of the first responders, the village volunteers and the members of the State Disaster Response Force of Assam. They are rushing to a village from where they have received a SOS message.
वहाँ में हमारा लोग फंसे हुए हैं और वो लोग हमें लास्ट कॉल किया है कि हमारा यहाँ हम लोग बच्चे बूढ़े सब एक साथ है, पानी हमारा मतलब घर से ऊपर जा रहा है।
अभी तक तो हम लोग कल दोपहर को पहुँचे हैं, हम लोग गुवाहाटी से आए ना SDRF का, तो कल रात सुबह 5 बजे तक रेस्क्यू किया, पूरा रात रेस्क्यू किया।
A boat takes the rescuers and the NDTV team to Radhanagar village, where many houses are submerged. People and animals huddle together. 45-year-old Sanjay Bayan is having his only meal in a long time in West High Water. Inside his house, water has been up to his neck for the past 4 days. His standing crop has all been washed away, as has been the shop outside his hut. His 80-year-old mother and 2 daughters are being rescued.
आगे लेडीज, आगे सब लेडीज है।
हम तो सरकारी से कोई सुविधा नहीं मिले।
मेरा जिंदगी में पहले बार इससे बड़ा हुआ है। लास्ट टाइम 2004 में हुआ था, वो भी इससे थोड़ा कम था, और 2020 में भी था, वो थोड़ा और कम था, लेकिन ये बहुत बड़ा बार हुआ है।
In Hojai alone, over 70 villages are flooded, and over 1,000 villages are affected across the state. Army and NDRF are helping with rescue. The Air Force is delivering essentials to the Dima Hasao district, totally cut off for the past 5 days. And in southern Assam's biggest town, Silchar, the Barak River is flowing above danger mark. This train, stranded at the new Haflong station, is dangerously on the verge of floating downhill.
पानी के थोड़ा पानी के नीचे नहीं गया, बाकी सब संपूर्ण गांव गया है, मिल गया है, मैं भी मिल का आया। लोकल जो बोट है, कंट्री बोट, वो लोग भी काम कर रहे हैं, वो SDRF से NDRF से भी काम कर रहे हैं।
These villagers making their way to a relief camp after being rescued from their inundated village by the rescuers of the State Disaster Response Force, even as Assam battles rising flood waters. The challenge for the government is to safely rescue people like them, young, old, men and women who are stranded, inundated in villages by flood waters, and therefore the focus at this moment is the rescue operations. In Hojai with camperson Sanjay Chakravarti, Ratnadeep Chaudhary for NDTV.
In fact, the situation in Assam is grim because of those floods. Remember, at least the villages that have been flooded, lakhs have been impacted because of this, and I'm joined by my colleague Ratnadeep, who got us that ground report and who has been tracking the details of this story. Ratnadeep, the situation in the state of Assam is grim because of the floods. We believe that the government is also going to provide some kind of assistance, financial. What more can you share with us?
Well, actually the flood situation has worsened in the sense that now more people have got affected in the last 24 hours. Till yesterday it was over 4 lakh people, and now over 6 lakh, 6.62 lakh people are affected the death toll has risen to 9, and 27 out of 33 districts of Assam are now affected by floods. But the situation is grim, especially in 3 districts. Dima Hasao, which is completely cut off for the past 5 days, and Kachar and Hojai. Now, in Kachar, already a 48-hour lockdown has been imposed, and the state government has also decided that it is going to provide assistance of 4 lakh rupees to each of the families of those people who have died in the floods and landslides.
All
the
right.
state government
Well,
has also
Ratnadeep,
decided...
thank you for those details. In fact, I'm sorry I'll have to cut you short because the details that you've given us is very important. The government is going to assist in some form, but the situation only worsens because of the flood. 3 districts, like you mentioned, have been worstly impacted. Thank you very much with those details. Moving on, at least in Assam, we know the situation that saw rainfall that was at least over 1,000% above what's normal for this time of the year. Yet another example of what an extreme weather event, and all of that a common aspect to the devastating effects of the climate change. But interestingly, it is not just Assam. Parts of Bengaluru have seen rainfall over 2,000% over what is supposed to be normal. At least 2 workers have lost their lives because of this extreme rainfall in Bengaluru.
A Mercedes SUV was seen floating due to the incessant rains, flooded streets, underpasses and homes. People had to wade through nearly knee-deep water. Due to the inundation, at least 2 labourers were killed while working at a water pipeline site in north of Bengaluru. The unprecedented rains threw life out of gear. Rains that started on Tuesday around 5 p.m. intensified and lashed heavily till late last night. Several low-lying areas like Naindahalli, Okalipuram, Silkboard, Cambridge layout witnessed heavy inundation. The metro services were restored on Wednesday morning after it was suspended due to a power failure caused by thunderstorms on Tuesday night. Visiting the rain-hit areas, Basavaraj Bommai, the Chief Minister of Karnataka, acknowledged that the work on clearing the stormwater drains have been incomplete. In fact, this particular work, which was supposed to be completed late last year, was left unfinished.
ಸುಮಾರು 800 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇವಲ 400 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇನ್ನು 400 ಇವಾಗ ನಾವು ತಗೊಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಹೀಗಾಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಮಗಾರಿನೇ ಪೂರ್ಣ ಪ್ರಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳದ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಈ ವರ್ಷ ಇದು ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಒನ್ ಟೈಮ್ ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆ.
And there has not been much of work that has happened in declogging our stormwater drains. I feel that our drain networks are being used by all the other departments like BWSSB and Westcom, and most of the intersections underground are being blocked.
An orange alert has been sounded for Bengaluru rural and urban areas and coastal parts of Karnataka, and Bengaluru received about 114.6 mm rainfall.
Bangalore city has recorded a rainfall of 114.6 millimeters. We are expecting widespread rains over coastal Karnataka for next 2 days.
We see, the sewage water mixing especially with the rainwater, then spilling onto the streets. Now this is the condition every time there is a heavy rain that's battering the city of Bengaluru. But as far as what really has been done at this point in time, we see that the BBMP is still, the work, especially in terms of desilting of stormwater drain, is still continuing. In Bengaluru, with camera person Kumar, Shrija for NDTV.
Shifting focus, with retail inflation now at an 8-year high, with rural inflation stripping urban areas, what does this really mean on the ground? NDTV does a reality check in the Prime Minister's constituency of Varanasi, where the same amount of money now buys you a lot less, whether it be daily staples like cooking oil or biscuits. My colleague Alok Pandey with this report.
पार्ले जी पहले इसमें 8 पीस आता था, रेट वही है, पहले 2 का बिकता था, अभी 2 रुपये का बिकता है, अब 6 पीस आता है। ठीक सर, ये जैसे नवरत्न तेल है, पहले हम 220 रुपए का बंडल खरीदते थे, अभी 250 रुपए का बंडल खरीदते हैं। इसमें हमारे प्रॉफिट में कमी आ गई है।
25 kilometers away from Varanasi's attention-grabbing Gyanvapi mosque dispute, in Prime Minister Modi's adopted village Jayapur, 32-year-old Kirana shop owner Manoj Gupta, a BJP supporter and voter, says the price rise-driven impact on his profit margins, especially from small 5, 10, 20 rupee items, is a bigger issue. The rising prices impact, in turn, customers, who are mostly poor villagers.
मतलब आपको ऐसा लगता है कि अगले 6 महीने में दाम कम हो पाएंगे?
उम्मीद तो नहीं है सर।
क्यों?
सर इतना ही महंगाई बढ़ा हुआ है, तेल रिफाइन सब है। अभी 180 रुपए का 1 लीटर आता है फॉर्चून रिफाइन।
फॉर्चून। और आज से 1 साल पहले कितने का था?
पहले सर 120 रुपए का आता था।
मतलब आपको लगता है सरकार का कोई भी दोष है, आपको नहीं लगता?
नहीं, सरकार का तो कोई दोष नहीं लगता है।
क्यों?
A few steps away, Aarti Devi, who runs a small savings cooperative with other village women, is more vocal in assigning blame. Aarti and her husband, who works in a private company, earn about 25,000 rupees a month, income that supports a family of 8. Aarti says the couple used to save 5,000 rupees a month till last year, but not anymore.
जनता भी दोष दिया है तो सरकार भी दोष दिया है, सबका दोष है।
जनता का क्या दोष है?
जनता जब जिताया है तो महंगाई बढ़ेगा ही, ये तो जनता ही जान लेगा।
और सरकार का क्या दोष है?
सरकार जब बना है तो सरकार को सोचना चाहिए था ना सर, कि अब जनता जिताए हमके तो सस्ताई दे, तब तो जनता खुश रहेंगे।
अच्छा, आपके घर में 3 चीज बताइए जिसका दाम सबसे ज्यादा बढ़ गया है, जो आपकी रोज की जिंदगी में जिससे फर्क पड़ता है। कोई 3 चीज गिनाइए।
दाल है, गैस है, तेल है।
5 kilometers away, in the Bhikaripur village, 45-year-old Birendra Kumar Yadav, a milk seller like many others around him, says earnings have been severely impacted in the last 6 months. The price of milk is unchanged at 45 to 50 rupees a litre in 6 months, but input costs are up. The price of choker is now 1200 to 1400 rupees per sack, up by as much as 55% in just a year. Each animal needs to be given about half-litre mustard oil each week, whose prices have risen by 15 to 20 rupees per kg in the last year. Add to this rising costs of fuel used for transportation.
तो मंदिर मस्जिद तो है, आदमी का महंगाई से थोड़ा दिमाग को हटाना कि कैसे इनको खींचा जाए। इसमें भिड़े रहेंगे तो ये सब मुद्दा सब रहेगा, खाना खाएं या न खाएं।
I'm sitting on a bench in the Prime Minister's adopted village, Jayapur in Varanasi, and there's an interesting message here. It says, "Khud ko badlo, Bharat badlega," meaning that you change yourself and India will change. But in these times of price rise, perhaps many could argue that the government too needs to tinker with or change some of its policies so that people, especially in the rural areas, can live with more ease. In Varanasi, with camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
AG Perarivalan, one of the convicts in former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi's assassination, was released today after the intervention of the Supreme Court, which invoked its special powers under Article 142. The verdict could pave way for the release of other 6 convicts in the case, including Nalini Sriharan. The Congress has expressed pain and disappointment and has attacked the government for creating, and I quote, a situation in the court.
Celebration as Rajiv Gandhi assassination life convict Perarivalan was set free after 31 years behind bars. He was arrested in 1991 for buying 2 9-volt batteries for Sivarasan, the LTTE mastermind from Sri Lanka, to detonate the human bomb that killed the former Prime Minister. Setting him free, invoking its extraordinary powers under Article 142, the top court ruled Governor is bound by the State Cabinet's recommendation. The Governor is a mere handle, and the Governor not exercising his powers under Article 161 can have inexplicable delay, and it can be subjected to judicial review.
எங்கள் ரெண்டு பேருக்கும் ஒரே ஒரு விஷயம் தான் இருந்தது. இதுக்கான ஒரு காரணம் என்னன்னா, எங்கள் பக்கம் இருந்த உண்மை, எங்கள் பக்கம் இருந்த நியாயம், அது மட்டும்தான் எங்களுக்கு இவ்வளோ பெரிய வலிமையை கொடுத்துச்சுன்னு நான் நம்புகிறேன். எங்கள் அம்மாவுக்கும் இவ்வளோ பெரிய வலிமையை கொடுத்துச்சுன்னு நம்புகிறேன்.
After the convicted served 23 years in jail, in 2014, the Supreme Court had commuted the death sentence to life, citing inordinate delay by the President in disposing their mercy pleas.
மனிதாபிமான மனித உரிமை அடிப்படையில் பேரறிவாளன் விடுதலை என்பது வரவேற்கத்தக்கதாக அமைந்திருக்கும் அதே நிலையில் மாநிலத்தினுடைய உரிமையானது இந்த தீர்ப்பின் மூலமாக மிக கம்பீரமாக நிலைநாட்டப்பட்டிருக்கிறது.
Perarivalan's mother, Arpudammal, pursued the case relentlessly and became the face of the struggle against capital punishment.
அவனுக்கு தொடர்ந்து இந்த அரசு பரோல் கொடுத்தது, பெயில் கொடுத்தது அடுத்து நீதிமன்றம். அதனால அவனோட உடல்நிலையை நான் நல்லா கவனிக்க முடிஞ்சது. எனக்கு அது ஒரு பெரிய மகிழ்ச்சி. நான் முதல்வருக்கு மு.க. ஸ்டாலின் அவர்களுக்கு நான் இந்த நேரத்தில் நன்றி சொல்றேன்.
This could now pave way for the release of 6 other life convicts, including Nalini Sriharan, her husband Murugan, and 3 other Sri Lankans. It was a dastardly crime that targeted a former Prime Minister. For Perarivalan, this verdict would open a new chapter after being behind bars for 3 decades. It's also an embarrassment for governors involved for failing to abide by the Constitution and instead tacitly what many call towing the line of their political masters. With Sukirti in Delhi, at Jolarpet, with Suresh, Sam Daniel, Find Your TV.
And just months ahead of the Gujarat elections, sulking state Congress chief and Patidar leader Hardik Patel finally quit the party with a parting shot at Rahul Gandhi. And I quote, he says, "When I met top leaders, they seemed distracted by their mobile phones. Senior leaders in Gujarat are more interested in ensuring that visiting leaders get their chicken sandwiches than engaging with people during yatras. Our leader was abroad when he was needed in India during critical times," he said. In the final blow, the Congress, which was expecting Patel's exit for weeks now, hit back, and sources indicate that Hardik is in touch with the BJP and likely to join them soon.